Sorry, I had clients here that was in the middle of something. Anyways, to finish Jason's question, it's about efficiency. The other video is on efficiency, but this is about proper power and best output efficiency. So again, there's always going to be a compromise. When you get close to the VAS, remember that the VAS is the minimum, or I should say, it's I forget what the specs are, but basically it's the minimum amount of air required to reach the FS at whatever the level frequency is. I think it's probably like a 3 dB down point. So, but and that has to do with box design and what your goals are. So let's say you have an 18 that has FS of 24 hertz. Well, you don't need to go down to 24 hertz to there's nothing down there. So for best efficiency, you probably want to port to about, let's say 33, 32 hertz. And what that'll do, that it'll give you a really great boost, natural boost, because the woofer can play down to 24 hertz, but it's not. And so what you end up doing is putting that back in there. Now, as far as power handling goes, power handling is all based on the load. And I don't mean impedance load, I mean the acoustic load. And that has to do with the back pressure on the enclosure. Now, Dan Wiggins, I'll post the link on this to the Dyer, the old archive site for a Dyer. Dan wrote some white papers on power handling, and there's different specs. There's different tests for different reasons. So, like in his case, the Dyer Brahma Mark whatever 2, which is probably his most popular version. He put the power handling at about 1600 watts. And so you got to understand, if you read also my blog, it talks about this briefly, is that the power handling it exists, but it doesn't. Like, can it handle 1600 watts? Yes, but for how long? And at what frequency? So the specs don't specify that. And so there's not really any spec on, subwoofers. So it's kind of just Wild West. You just kind of make up a number and then you're like, okay, good. So some companies are conservative, like Rockford. They have their new Monster T2 that they rate at 2,000 watts. And it does like 5K because Cerwin-Vega Mobile uses the same motor, and they used it on the Stroker Pro, and they rated it 5K. And so even that's conservative, depending on the size. So in some companies, I've noticed like Sundown, they rate it based on the motor size and the coil size, not on the acoustic load, which, whatever, that's fine too. But Jacob is really conservative on all his numbers, like the ZV5 only handles 2,000 watts, bullshit. So it's good for, I would imagine 3 to 4K at least. You do get a power limit because it's a 3-inch coil, but it has a higher BL, more windings because it's more compact than say a 4-inch version. Now the 4-inch version will have less BL, but it'll have better power handling because there's more surface area on the coil is larger, and so there's always a compromise there as well when you're designing a speaker. And really it's tough to do all of this in a computer. The best thing is to just build one and then test it yourself. And I think there should be some videos on testing for JL Audio. The way they test it is really good. And they're still conservative on their numbers as well. And for most, that ends up being sort of a marketing thing where they're like, wow, if you're prim and proper and you do things the correct way, what is the other one? The good things aren't cheap, cheap things aren't good, that kind of shit. Then you're conservative on all your numbers. But what that also does is it boosts sales because then they go, wow, if you really want to be cool, then you need to buy 3 13W7s, that kind of shit. So I'm not a fan of that end of it, but as far as the technical goes, they do good tests. And but as far as proper power handling, you always compromise with the size of the box, and that is relative to VAS. As far as performance that you want, the smaller the box, the more power it can handle. However, the compromise is that it's not as sensitive. It doesn't perform as well. It doesn't play as deep, which is a weird thing I've seen recently. Who was it? Stereo Integrity. They have these weird octagon or hexagon boxes, and the box is really, really tiny. I would love to see the comparison on, yes, it does handle a ton of power, but what kind of numbers are you getting out of it? And then also at what frequency? So even if you put a big woofer like that in a very small box, you do need some equalization in order to get that extra excursion at the lower frequencies, because you just can't reach it. And that's why the VAS is a real number. That VAS tells you how much air there needs to be in the box. And that's a sealed box number as far as that goes. But and as far as best output efficiency, I think we talked about that in the last video. Again, it's a compromise. It depends on what you're trying to do with it. For most people, and we're talking about 95% of the people out there, tuning from 32 to about 36 hertz is great. In fact, sometimes I tune a little higher, 36 to 40 hertz, for somebody that likes rock music, because the kick drum is right in that area, and they want the I don't want to say the illusion, but the sort of the emphasis on the kick part, not necessarily on the low bass part. And then there's other people that like rap and EDM and things like that, and so. But I'll get into another video about EDM and DJs and that kind of thing. PA guys are dumb. They don't understand what's going on. And PA drivers are made for live music, which plays nothing below 44 hertz. But most guys that are into the DJ scene, they'll buy PV and whatever, some exotic Italian brand and some bullshit. And those woofers just don't have the excursion or the power handling that you need in order to produce those low frequencies. That comes from the world of car audio, or if you want to pay double for car audio, then you buy it. It's called a home theater subwoofer. So, but anyways, I hope that answers your question, Jason. Thank you for asking it. And, I guess if you add everything up, this is a long video. But thanks. Bye.